7 miles south of Edinburgh, hidden in plain sight, a chapel that doesn't quite fit the history books. To most visitors, Rosslyn Chapel is a beautiful Gothic masterpiece. But for the Sinclair family who built it, was it meant to hide something far deeper? A quiet refuge, or a coded message from the Knights Templar? Carvings cover every inch, plants and symbols that raise questions no one expected, questions that exploded into legend thanks to the Da Vinci Code. We see faces staring from the vines, geometric patterns etched high in the arches, and plants carved in stone that seem to belong to a world Europeans weren't supposed to know yet. Was Sir William Sinclair simply raising a chapel for prayer? Or was he quietly assembling a stone archive, a final vessel for the forbidden knowledge the Knights Templar once guarded with their lives? To decode Roslin, we must look at the men behind the stone. The Sinclairs, descended from Norman lords with strong Crusader ties. Families like theirs were deeply woven into the world of the Crusades, exactly the network from which the Knights Templar first emerged. In the early 1100s, Hugues de Payan, the Templars' first Grand Master, visited Scotland to recruit knights and secure support from King David I. Land was granted. Seeds of the order took root here. When the Templars were suppressed in 1307, most of Europe hunted them down. But Scotland, excommunicated under Robert the Bruce, stood outside papal reach. Some say fugitive knights found shelter in places like Sinclair lands, their knowledge quietly protected. Yet Scottish trial records show Sinclairs testifying against the order. A real split, or a strategic silence to hide ongoing ties. By 1446, when William Sinclair began the chapel, his family held hereditary mastery over Masonic traditions, as though something older had been passed down. What if these walls were built to safeguard secrets the Templars once carried? Deep within the chapel, the pillars command attention. The apprentice pillar rises in a helix of vines, seemingly alive, defying stone. Its placement, its intricate design, quietly directs the mind toward Jerusalem. The Templars took their name from Solomon's Temple, headquartered on its ancient ruins where they sought hidden wisdom. In Roslin, esoteric traditions and Masonic interpreters have long seen the chapel's prominent columns, the richly carved apprentice pillar and its planar companions, as evoking Jachin and Boaz, the twin bronze pillars that guarded the entrance to Solomon's sacred sanctuary. In the biblical description of Solomon's temple, these two pillars stood at the entrance to the sanctuary, marking the passage from the outer world into sacred space. Strength on one side, establishment on the other. An ancient threshold reimagined in Scottish stone. Did the Sinclairs intend this subtle echo? A portal to the same forbidden knowledge the Templars guarded? High above, in the arches of the Lady Chapel, 213 small stone cubes protrude, each carved with intricate geometric patterns. In the early 2000s, father and son researchers Thomas and Stuart Mitchell began studying these carvings more closely. They noticed something unusual. The patterns resembled Chladni figures, the geometric shapes created when sound vibrations move sand across a vibrating surface. Intrigued, the Mitchells began comparing the stone designs with known vibration frequencies. And slowly, a striking possibility emerged. Each carved cube might correspond to a specific musical tone. By assigning musical notes to the shapes, the researchers created a sequence of tones based on the cubes themselves. Working with musicians, they translated this sequence into a piece of music now known as the Rosslyn motet. The melody has since been performed publicly, a haunting, simple chant said to reflect the silent geometry carved into the chapel's stone. Not everyone is convinced. Skeptics argue the resemblance is coincidental, noting that similar decorative patterns appear in medieval stonework across Europe. To them, the cubes are simply ornamental carvings, beautiful, but not musical. Yet the idea continues to fascinate. When the patterns are matched to specific frequencies and translated into musical notes, they form a simple, haunting, plain chant. A melody that, whether intentional or not, seems to echo through the stone itself. Did the builders understand a lost science of sound, encoded here in silence? Or are we hearing echoes that were never meant to sing? The stone offers no answers, only the invitation to listen closer. The mystery deepens with the Green Man. One of the most recurring images in the chapel is the Green Man. While usually seen as a simple pagan symbol of rebirth, some researchers have proposed a far more exotic origin. They point to the Islamic figure of Al-Khidr, literally, the Green One, a mystical guide who represents eternal wisdom. Given the Templars' decades in the Middle East, is it possible these carvings were meant to signal a bridge between Western faith and Eastern mysticism? Or is the resemblance merely a coincidence of ancient art? Perhaps the most unsettling feature of the chapel involves the carvings of maize. Roslin was finished in the 1440s, decades before Christopher Columbus set sail. How could a new world plant be carved into Scottish stone so early? The carvings appear to show plants strikingly similar to maize, corn with tightly packed kernels. Maize is native to the Americas and was unknown in Europe until after Columbus returned from the Caribbean in 1492. Because of this, the Rosslyn carvings have sparked decades of debate among historians, botanists, and explorers. Some researchers argue the resemblance is too close to ignore, suggesting knowledge of these plants may have reached Scotland long before the official discovery of the New World. Others strongly disagree. Medieval stone carvings often stylized plants into decorative patterns, and many scholars believe these shapes simply represent lilies, wheat, or other common European vegetation. Yet the question remains, if the resemblance to maize is real, how did the sculptors know what it looked like? This points us to Henry Sinclair, the first Earl of Orkney. Legend tells of a voyage Henry took to North America in 1398, nearly a century before Columbus. Botanists often argue the maize patterns are simply stylized lilies or wheat, common in Gothic art, and that we may be seeing patterns where none were intended. But If the Sinclairs truly possessed Templar navigational charts, could Roslin be the first physical record of a secret transatlantic journey? The greatest secret of Roslin may lie not in what we can see, but in what remains hidden beneath our feet. For centuries, persistent traditions have spoken of a sealed underground vault. According to the family's own history, the Sinclair Knights were buried there, in full armor, laid to rest in a manner some associate with the austere burial traditions of the early Knights Templar. In the 1990s, investigations at Rosslin used ground-penetrating radar to examine what lies beneath the chapel floor. The results were striking. The scans revealed subsurface voids, suggesting the presence of a man-made chamber beneath the chapel, a space that appears to have remained undisturbed for centuries. Why hasn't it been opened? The official reason is structural integrity. The chapel is built on a steep ridge, and excavating beneath it could risk the entire structure collapsing. This has created a quiet stalemate between modern archaeology and medieval architecture. Does the vault hold the lost archives of the Templars? The Holy Grail? Or perhaps just the mortal remains of a family that took their secrets to the grave? Rosslyn Chapel was not built for the crowds. It was built to be understood by those who could read its symbols. It stands as a stone testament, a kind of library shaped by a family at the crossroads of the Crusades, the Norse sagas, and the mystery of the New World. What remains is a building that asks more questions than it answers. The stones remain, the symbols are silent, and the vault remains unopened. Perhaps the builders never intended for the mystery to be solved, only to endure.